could be larger than life, bigger than the world, living out the hopes and dreams of every boy and every girl. You could fly higher than the sky, shine brighter than the stars. You could have all you ever wanted, shoot the moon and reach for Mars. You know you could. Yeah, and times are changing everywhere. Do we dream and do we dare? It's up to you, the door is open wide. Feel the rhythm of today, learn the part and join the play. The world is here, let's take it for a ride. You could be larger than life, bigger than the world, living out the hopes and dreams of every boy and every girl. You could fly higher than the sky, shine brighter than the stars. You could have all you ever wanted, shoot the moon and reach for Mars. You know you could. Larger, larger than, bigger, bigger than, living dream, boy and girl. Higher, higher than, brighter, brighter than, all you wanted. You know, you could be larger than life, bigger than the world, living out the hopes and dreams of every boy and every girl. You could fly higher than the sky, shine brighter than the stars. You can have all you ever wanted. You know you could.
Good morning. Welcome back to the channel, Grand Columbia, and welcome to another Coffee Time Live. Let's take a look at the weather. Overcast. It's been a little rainy, cool at night. Pretty damn awesome, just the way I like it. So that's all good. Yes, I was going to take the day off. Some of you know that. And I'm sure it'll affect the views that I get. Doesn't matter. I'm not about that. I just wanted a break. But then I realized this morning I didn't really want a break. I really enjoyed doing this. And maybe I was avoiding the topics I needed to cover today. Because today, as in the title, I'm going to be talking about bad news in Colombia. So, I mean, that's never fun. But, you know, we're dedicated to giving you real information, good or bad. I'm not here trying to sell Colombia, because I could care less if you come here to live or not. It doesn't affect me either way. If too many of you came here, it might affect me in a negative way. So there's that. But audio sound good. Awesome. Thank you, Ronald. So I'm going to cover some bad news. I have one good news piece that if you're here in Armenia or in Quindío, you're probably going to want to go see it before it's gone. You got one more week. And then last week I talked about this song that went viral. It relates to all the stories that I'm going to talk about here in Colombia. And so I'm going to discuss it one more time a week later. So in my mind, it all ties together. I put it at the end. We'll see what you think. If you think that there's a common theme. So the chats, we've got Juka, greetings from Finland. How you doing? Thank you very much for the contribution. And from Mr. Anonymous, aka Jerry, thank you very much. It's always appreciated. I even say thank you. Libby, how you doing? I know you didn't think we are going to be on, and I wrote you at the last minute that I changed my mind and we're going to be doing it. Turtle, how you doing, Turtle? All right, let's see. Carlos, good morning, family. Kind of feels that way, doesn't it? Ben Lake, good morning. Good stream, that's awesome. Mr. Sawicki, good morning all from Seattle. Ron, I mentioned that. Mike, how you doing, Mike? So we got a light crowd. We got about half the people we normally do, which is better than I thought, considering I announced all over the place that there would not be a Coffee Time Live today. I had to throw it to. I had to copy the pictures, download them, put them into the program, set up all the buttons in my control doohickey, all in about 40 minutes. It's a good thing some of this stuff has become automatic. Okay. So let's get to, well, first, the apartment that I said that I would promote, they added an email to it, so I'm going to run that again. And there were some people that had mentioned to me they were interested, so I'm going to run it again towards the end. Watch for the email, so you don't have to write to me, you can write to them directly. Yay! Here we go. customcasa@yahoo.com. Okay, got it. Bill Beebe. So my wife and I are finally in Armenia. We are looking for an apartment using Facebook Marketplace like you suggested in one of your videos. Looking forward to exploring the city. The very best way is to know the barrio that you want. There's basically 4 barrios that most people from the USA will probably want to live. Close to things, extremely, completely safe, all the things that people look for. There's four and there's other barrios, but there's 4 that are like top of the list. So what you do is you choose the barrio or barrios that you're interested in, and then go walk them. And for buildings, go in, ask whatever guard is, they call him porter, is on service. Ask if there's anything in the building. Look in the windows for rent signs, which will say Arrienda. Vende is for sale. Arrienda is for rent. So look for those signs, and that's the best way. Now, Facebook Marketplace is a really good way. I've actually helped people locate places using Facebook. I don't normally do that, but sometimes people are stuck and they ask if I can give them a hand. And, if I have time, of course, I'm going to. So good luck with it. Last thing is you can always hire somebody like Alejandra. Won't cost you that much. And you can give a general description of what you're looking for, have some flexibility, particularly for your first apartment. And tell her where you're interested, and she'll get out, pound the pavement, talk to people, research online, things like that. That usually works out pretty good. All out of our price range. Yeah. Well, that's for that apartment that I ran. It is basically like Airbnb, and that's for what it is. It's very in line with places that are comparable to that in that kind of location. It's actually cheaper than a lot of them. But as far as for renting, like for, to live, it's not intended for that. They live there. They're just out traveling for a couple months. So, how to contact Alejandra. Send me an email and I'll send you her contact, or Mike Jarvis. He's always he sees her a lot more than I do, but feel free to shoot me off an email there, and I'll give her whatever contact you give me, and she can get a hold of you. All right. Okay, let's get on with the bad news. First of all, I just pulled two up from this week, but this has been a pretty regular occurrence that it's only been like this for the past year and a half or so. It's something really unusual for here. All right, this first story. 29-year-old died of cardiac arrest after being referred to the hospital. She was a mother of a child, 29 years old, no previous issues, falls over dead. And another one this week, the man identified, gives his name, apparently suffered a heart attack and died in the middle of a public road. Just walking along, keeled over, was not an old guy. I forget the age, is 30 something. This is becoming a regular occurrence, and it is not something that's typical here, normal here. Heart attacks are typically rare in this part of the world as compared to places like US or Canada or something like that. And a lot of that has to do with what has always been a lack of stress. Well, the society is becoming very stressed. NB90, buenos dias, buenas. Okay. So I don't know what you make of that, but I see it. I see these articles all the time. And I don't report on them because it's kind of like a one-off, and it's not somebody that you know. It's not somebody that I know. It's like, okay, so-and-so had a heart attack. There you go. But I've been seeing so many of them for the past year or so. It's getting kind of ridiculous. What do we got here? We got a spammer again. What the? Hold on. Okay. Rob's not on. Where are you, Rob? He'll delete those for me. Somebody mentioned they're having trouble with the chat. It's not really a problem with the chat. We had a spammer that went crazy and kind of messed up the stream, and I put the chat on a delay. So if you do a partial chat, hit it, and then you want to go back and complete it, you're gonna have to wait a while. I think it's like 30 seconds or so, something like that, and then you can do a chat again. So it's not like it's not working. It's just that I had to put a delay in because sometimes meatheads get on here and that kind of stuff happens. Yeah, that's a theory. It is being seen all over the place, but I just wanted to let you know that that's something that we are seeing here. So I'll leave the The theory's other, simply because I don't know. I don't have enough knowledge to know what it relates to. I'm just seeing it happen. Mike, it's like that all over the world. Insurance stats. Where is it? Insurance stats prove many young unexplainable cardiac deaths. Yeah, I'm aware. I'm aware, but I don't know what to say, and it's not that I'm afraid to say. I honestly don't know. It's something. It's something that's very unusual, and it's not just everywhere else in the world. We're seeing it here too, and it's pretty sad. Okay, big news if you live here is we had an earthquake. And technically I'm on the 13th floor, but there's 4 floors that are basically car park that are all 4 above ground. So I live on the 17th floor. And when that earthquake hit, it was pretty good. It was dancing away, but the most noticeable thing was it went on for a period of time. Usually you feel those tremors and, they're pretty quick, 10, 15 seconds or so. This one, I don't know. I think it probably went on for a minute or so. It was quite strong considering where it was located. But so we had an earthquake. This was Thursday. And I got a notice on my phone. I subscribed back when I was in Ecuador to the Geographic Institute something or other. They've got an earthquake app. And what happened was I got a beep, 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 beep. And I look on my phone and it says, earthquake, approximately 5.7, and a minute later, I felt it here. It was actually located the other side of Bogota, fairly close to Bogota, but the other side of it. And what was interesting about it is there was no damage. It was strong, but it's, you got all these high rises, and as strong as I felt it here, I can't imagine what it was like in Bogota. And even if you feel safe and secure, it's pretty freaky, getting the blurred vision. And you realize when you're up in the top floor, well, you can't take the elevator, because even if you can get on the elevator, the way the thing's twisting and turning, who knows what it's going to do to the elevator. You don't really want to go down the stairs, because when you live up so high, by the time you get halfway down, it's going to end anyway. So you're pretty much, you are where you are. So that was a fascinating thing, is I expected that there would be some damage in Bogota. And I looked at a bunch of different reports on it, no damage. But there was one pretty horrific event. And I can't show the video because they'll shut me off, and I already have a problem with that. Matter of fact, it's telling me right now my stream is poor, but I look down at my stuff and it's going out full blast. Anyway, I don't know if my channel has been targeted because of some things I did lately. Maybe it's time. Maybe it's time to make the move. The only thing is, I'll be missing out on some things, such as being able to show this. I won't have that ability. The chat here on the right side, well, I'll probably still be able to do that. But little things like these notices that go up like that. So and there's other things, and so I hate to do that, particularly since I get pretty good feedback on various things that I'm able to do through YouTube. It's not available on Rumble or Odyssey. But let me get to the this was pretty sad, especially when I found out the rest of the story. This building on the 7th floor, there was a woman. There's a video of whoever took this picture. There's a video. This was a video, and they took a picture from it. So a person in a building across the street was shooting. They must be about on the 7th floor too, because it was directly across. And it shows this woman goes out on her balcony, climbs over the balcony, and she's hanging on to the railing of the balcony like she was going to try to Spider-Man her way down the thing. And then, I mean, it was shaking pretty good. She let go and she fell. And of course, instant demise. Well, the rest of the story was she was sitting in her apartment. The earthquake had hit pretty good. And a relative of hers called up to see if she was okay and to tell her to calm down, relax. And then they made a comment about try to get out as soon as you can. Well, the woman was already panicked, and for whatever reason, it caused her to freak out and try to go outside and climb down the side of the building. And she fell to her doom. So that was the only occasion of any kind of injury or death during that earthquake. Buildings were fine. This building was fine. Of course, we're not really near it. It was just kind of very surprising. It has something to do with how deep they are and how shallow they are, of how far you're going to feel it and how much power you'll feel it when that happens. But yeah, that happened, and it was pretty bad. Let me take a look at some of these comments. I don't know what HARP is. Stephen Greer, I'm not sure what that is. Something non-compliant. I don't know what those things are. Censorship of any kind will not be tolerated. Anti-gravity ancient. What? Are we getting more spams here? I don't know what that is. All right, let me all right. Yeah, I don't know what those were. I think somebody was trying us out again. Delete him. Well, it takes a minute, but I went through and took care of that. All right, more bad news. We didn't have enough. This is something else that's become epidemic, absolutely epidemic. And this hit home personally for me, as some of you know. I still struggle with it, but this is the last 2 years, it's become huge. And this is suicides. Oops. Now, the mental hospital here went from 9,000 patients in the last year to over 30,000. Those are people that are actually checking in, reporting in to a mental hospital. But suicides are rampant. I have, like I said, I have close personal knowledge of it occurring, but I'm also seeing that 2, 3, 4 in a week, week after week after week. There were several in the news this past week. I decided to just put this one up on a mental hospital. What's the point in putting up a bunch of pictures that just kind of say the same thing? But I have my theories on this, and we'll talk about it when I get past these little items here. This is not such bad news, might be good news. But if you've been in Colombia, actually any South American, Central American country, you'll see motorcycles with kids on them. And it's becoming a topic of conversation. Kids on them without helmets, mothers holding babies riding on the back of motorcycles. And these motorcycles, for the most part, are pretty small, and the back seats are pretty small, and there's no wheelie bars, so if you take off fast, you can actually flip over. Now, they do it often, they know, so they hang on, but a moment of forgetfulness and you can dump yourself over backwards. If it's just you, it may not be a big deal, but if you're holding a baby, that could be pretty tragic. So they're having conversations about it, which means regulations will probably grow. On one hand, you like the freedom, but on the other hand, when it becomes rampant like that, when people stop using common sense, what do you do? What do you do? It's 10 times worse. It is, but it's still there. And, giving it some attention, it may not be regulation. It just may be a public campaign to, talk about it. Those things can be effective. I remember when I moved to Ecuador, when I first got there, it was pretty common for guys to just pee in the street. Daytime, nighttime, it was traditional. You're walking along, you got to pee, you just pee on the side of a building, right on the public sidewalk downtown. And it was pretty gross because, it stunk. It just was not cool, right? Well, they cracked down on it. Shortly after I got there, it was almost gone. It pretty quickly changed because people knew. But then when I went to Peru, I get across the border, and the first town I get to, as soon as I got off the bus, it smelled like pee. And walking around, it stunk. It smelled like a one of those sport event toilets where you pee in a trough. It was gross. And then as I moved around a little bit in Peru, it was the same thing. And then other people that go to Peru, they tell me, they experience the same thing. It's just gross. They haven't got around to it. So I have also seen, when I was in Ecuador, as many as 3, 4, 5 people on a single motorcycle. It's just crazy. You don't see that here, but you will see 2 adults, and if they have a baby, maybe a baby. And the thing with the kids is you'll see pretty common moms on their little motos, on their scooters, with their child in the back, taking them to school. They're very cheap. You can buy them, quite cheap. But the kids very often don't have helmets on. And another thing about the helmets here is a lot of these helmets are made in China. And not just to gang up on China, but the truth of it is, motorcycles that come out of China, you might as well just wear this. If you take a hammer to them, they just shatter like an eggshell. It's because they're like a quarter of the price of, like, if a helmet you get from the USA that's got the DOT symbol on it and that actually protects your head. If that thing costs $200, but you can get one of those Chinese ones for $50 or less. If you're struggling for money and you don't realize that you're endangering yourself, you buy those things. And a lot of these motorcycle accidents are related to that. So there's that. So I don't know what's going to happen with it, but again, it doesn't hurt to have conversation. What do we have here? Okay, here I saw a guy why does that thing pop up? There we go. Here I saw a guy on motorcycle, and he had a child in front of him, then one behind him, and wife with baby 2, 5 people on one moto. So dangerous, lady at the end of the seat could slide down. I got on a bus to Machala and it smells like pee. I moved to a different seat, made sure somebody, yeah. Taco fillings. A lot of stuff happens. Life is dangerous. Western culture is all about controlling everything. I'd rather be in a alive at your own risk society. I don't disagree with you. And that's a good point. Maybe that's something we talk about sometime. There's massive positivity in it, particularly since when you live in a society that's not litigious, that doesn't have endless laws that no matter what you do, they can find a law to criminalize you. These places aren't like that. And so on one hand, you see these things and your first feeling is, pass the law for someone else's good. On the other hand, you can look at it and say, we all have free will. And if you know the danger and you still decide, then you're the one paying the price. However, when it comes to kids, they don't have the control to do that. So as much as I prefer not to see any regulation, I don't think it would hurt to have, at the very least, a helmet law for kids. And if you're going to have a helmet, the thing should have some sort of standard. But you've got a great point. Let's see. Exactly, Libby. There's always an extra seat. Don't like it, just move, no problem. No need to control others. Yeah, I get your theme, and for the most part, I'm with you on that kind of stuff. Let's just have a drone patrol and zap people for non-compliance too. Chicago smells like pee. New York City, did the rules make New York not smell like pee? Philly, yeah, I get your point. You see same in the Philippines too. Multi-passengers, no helmets. Yeah, it tends to be wherever there's poverty, motorcycles are affordable transportation. But what do you do when you're trying to transport your kids to school or try to transport I got Alexa talking to me in the other room. Who invited her into the conversation? Okay, so let me move that down. You're going to tell me a bus in any American society with litigious BS and doesn't smell of pee. Western culture lives in a fantasy world. Well, I get your point. I would kind of argue it. In the U.S., it's kind of a different factor. In Peru, it's just considered natural. It's what we've done for centuries. It's just considered natural. In New York, if you ever went there in the 70s, it's exactly as you described. If you went there after they cleaned it up and New York became one of the safest cities in the world, it wasn't like that anymore. The people in New York and other big cities weren't doing it because it was a natural way of doing things for 200 years. They were doing it out of a lack of respect. And lack of respect is a huge societal problem and very advanced in the U.S. Other countries are kind of headed in that direction. So, I hear you, but I don't think it's as clear cut as you're painting. I think there's nuances to it, but I am with you completely on regulation should be absolutely last resort. Okay. Now, a good thing, in the Parque de la Vida, if you're not aware, from July 27th until August 27th, shame on me for not mentioning this before, but you got this next week, you got 7 days. There's a festival going on there, and the entire park is done up kind of like what they do for Christmas. And you've probably seen a few of my Christmas videos. I try to go there and show it. I've done at least a couple. Well, this is about myths and legends in Condillo. Mythical characters, folk tales, things that people have been, repeating for 1,000 years. It's all about that. It says Festival of Live Myths and Legends, Tradition and Charm of Condillo. 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. You can see there, let's say Friday through Sunday, and holidays. Costs 9,000 pesos. There's food in there. There's local artisanal crafts kind of thing. Definitely something to do. I'm going to try to get there this week and do a video. But if you're in town, don't miss it. The taco. Sorry, I had a little too much freedom with my espresso this morning. Don't tread on my French press. No, I get you. And on any given day, I'd be saying the exact same things you're saying, because it's a road that you hate to see anybody go down that road. Maybe because they charge you to use the restrooms here. Here, as in Colombia, pretty rare. Ecuador, always. Here, about the only time is on bus routes, and that's because you stop and, you go in and you got 50 people peeing in somebody's bathroom. If it's your business, would you want to clean it? The buses will stop for lunches and dinners at selected places, and usually food's pretty good, food's pretty cheap. And it's not very common anymore. It used to be pretty common, but it's less so now. But that's the reason why. I mean, it's kind of common sense. Also, at bus terminals, some of the bus terminals will charge you for a similar thing. I know if you go to the Pereira bus terminal, the bathroom there, there's a big thing before you go in, and you pay your 500 pesos. I mean, it's dirt cheap. You're paying a dime or something, whatever it is. So it's very cheap, but it's basically just to clean, because we all know that us guys, when we pee, that big toilet, it's a tough target, and we can't always hit it. So, especially at home at 3 o'clock in the morning, it's a challenge for us. We don't want Colombia to turn into the Congo. I get it too. Damn, Colombia's doing fine on their own. Well, you have to understand that this conversation is from Colombians, not from me. I'm just reporting on it. Colombians are getting tired of seeing moms with babies, particularly with the high death rate on motorcycles with 0 in cars. There's talk, but it gets shot down. It's like, just ban the motorcycles. The taxis would love it. Well, the problem is it's the only affordable transportation with, probably 20% of the population. And so that would be kind of tough. Colombia wants to change their image. Maybe you're right, but I honestly don't think it has anything to do with that, because these things are grassroots. These things are, you walk around, you see this stuff all day long. And then you see these motorcycle accidents. You got social media, and it shows there'll be stuff on there that it's not censored. It's not, it's just kind of, it's like, why is this going on? Why are these people doing this? But I get your point. All right. So I told you I was going to talk about this guy's song again. And I think it has a common theme. I think what's going on, my personal opinion, and I could be talking out my butt. John, greetings from Cerritos. Howdy. It's all related to COVID. And I think this is backlash. I think when COVID first happened, I was compliant. I didn't give it thought. I just heard all of this information and I acted on it. And then when I got COVID a month later, doing everything I was told to do, I stopped and thought about it, and I realized they're telling me crap. I knew better than that. I knew that these kind of cloth masks, that's not a mask, but that they don't do anything. They don't protect others. They don't protect yourself. And it's obvious they don't protect you, but they're beating this drum about you're protecting others. And if you don't do it, you're hurting others. It's simply not true, because those cloth masks don't stop anything except the spit. But this particular virus was an airborne virus. And so if you cough or sneeze, they go through the mask. Okay, granted, you're not spitting on somebody, but you're still spreading it. It was pointless. And it became political. And then it became, you're a bad person if you don't wear them. Well, frankly, we're idiots for wearing them. Now, not to say that there weren't some. I mean, you've got some more serious masks, but nobody was wearing those. One, they're not obtainable in a lot of places. They're expensive. You actually have to have them fitted. You can't just take one off a shelf. So that wasn't going to happen. And they knew that these things, they came out later and said, yeah, they really weren't effective. But they knew that, just like I knew it as soon as I stopped to think about it because of training that I had had. These things were pointless. And so what I saw here in Armenia was really sad. It was really heartbreaking, because prior to COVID, Armenia was a relaxed, happy-go-lucky place. You go out, some of it's returning, but you would go out and walk down the street and people be laughing, people arm in arm, mother and daughter, lovers. I mean, there was a lot of public displays of affection. There was just laughter everywhere, which is why I didn't see that so much in Manizales. It was more formal, and that had a lot to do with why I preferred Armenia. But after COVID, people were wary of each other. You didn't see the laughter in the street. You certainly didn't see people arm in arm. You saw people actually keeping away from each other, totally against hundreds of years of societal norms. It became something else, and it put a lot of stress. And then you had the situation where, okay, big department stores, those can be open, but your local shop, which belonged to maybe your relative, they had to close. And so you watch them go out of business because they didn't have an income. And you saw that happen to a lot of people. Local businesses, fine. If you were a large corporation, you could keep functioning because it was necessary. Well, why wasn't it necessary for the local tienda? And on top of that, you could go half a block down the street to the local tienda. Okay, that one's closed. Well, now you got to go across town to a big supermarket. How's that for spreading viruses? They said, well, we've got home delivery. So here it was always available, but for the most part, people wanted to go out. Well, now it's become normal for people after COVID to use home deliveries pretty frequently. Uh, so you have that. Unemployment went from one of the best in the country, 8.7, which was really good for Colombia. Plus, they report them it differently than in the U.S. In the U.S., unemployment fall off the rolls at some point, and then they're no longer in the stats. Well, here, unemployed is unemployed. So 8.7 was pretty miraculous, considering 20 years ago it was over 50%. Well, now they're saying it's around 27% here in Condillo. That's a massive increase. And I see firsthand people struggling. And it doesn't get better. It seems like every month that goes by, something gets worse. And part of it is certain reserves and family and all the things that they were able to help each other along with gets to the point where the well's going dry. You got inflation that's doubled the price of everything. But wages are not moving up at all. So you have, and this is a worldwide thing, so it's not just Colombia, but you have this, we got played for fools, we got put in lockdown, we got told to do things that they knew were stupid. We watched as the people who make decisions ran businesses out of business. We watched as bad policies and decisions created a ridiculous inflation that didn't have to be. We're seeing this, and we're also seeing what goes on in the world. We're seeing people in Australia put in basically concentration camps. And I think, depending on where you are, there's a real sense of hopelessness, a real sense of a societal breakdown. So maybe crime doesn't matter. What comes to mind, some of you may know this, there was a movie long ago, really, really freaky, called Clockwork Orange. And I remember being pretty young, 15, 16 maybe, when that came out. It was in the 60s, 65 maybe. I remember watching that thinking, there's no way. But you think back on that movie now, yes way. That movie is today. All of the things that took place, all of the people in authority, how they became corrupt, and how society just broke down. Why are suicides so high? Why is crime spiking? Why? I think these are the reasons why. This was a friendly, loving community, and it still is with most people. But you're going to have a percent that have become jaded, become cynical, and don't see a point in much of anything anymore. Why carry that respect? So let me, I want to play this song for you through, and understand, in the United States, the response has been massive. I saw this on the first day. There was already 400,000. I looked this morning, there's over 27 million views. It's number one on Spotify. It's number one on iTunes. And this guy isn't even a publishing company. As a matter of fact, he turned down an $8 million offer for a record contract because he doesn't want to be part of that. He doesn't want to tour. He doesn't want to, he has no interest in it. But it's striking a note, and it's speaking to people actually around the world. And so if you haven't heard it, I'm going to play it. It's 3 minutes long. If this annoys you, I apologize. But I think it speaks pretty directly to what we're experiencing here. These things aren't one-offs. This is a massive change, societal change. And it makes you wonder about, the direction we're in. and can we pull it back? So let me play this.
I've been selling my soul, working all day, overtime hours for bullshit pay, so I can sit out here and waste my life away, drag back home and drown trouble away. It's a damn shame what the world's gotten to for people like me, people like you. Wish I could just wake up and it not be true, but it is. Oh, it is living in the new world with an whole soul. These rich men north of Richmond, Lord knows they all just wanna have total control. Wanna know what you think, wanna know what you do, and they don't think you know, but I know that you do. 'Cause your dollar ain't shit, and it's taxed to no end. 'Cause the rich men, know the rich men. I wish politicians would look out for minors, and not just minors on an island somewhere. Lord, we got folks in the street, ain't got nothing to eat, and the obese milking welfare. God, if you're 5'3" and you're 300 pounds, taxes ought not to pay for your bags of fudge rounds. Young men are putting themselves 6 feet in the ground, 'cause all this damn country does is keep on kicking them down. Lord, it's a damn shame what the world's gotten to for people like me, people like you. Wish I could just wake up and it not be true, but it is. Oh, it is living in the new world with an whole soul. These rich men north of Richmond, Lord knows they all just wanna have total control. Wanna know what you think, wanna know what you do, and they don't think you know, but I know that you do. 'Cause your dollar ain't shit, and it's taxed to no end. 'Cause the rich men, north of rich men. I've been selling my soul, working all day, overtime hours for bullshit pay.
He's not a professional musician. This is just something he does on his farm. He's got quite a backstory, struggled with alcoholism. A month before this happened, dropped to his knees and begged God to help him out. And the story's pretty amazing. He's played 2 venues since. One was a farmer's market where usually 30 people would show up, and there were thousands of people there. And then he just did one over the weekend, and tens of thousands of people turned out. But the interesting thing was, he's just a home musician, and he writes his own songs. He's got like 18 songs. And so he played this song, and thousands of people sang along word for word. So that's my bad news video. If anything changes, I will let you know. But I just wanted you to realize that what you're experiencing in other places, be it Canada or USA or whatever, there's some of that effect here also. Okay, do most Stratum 5 and 6 rentals have water heaters and AC? Are tenants generally responsible for repairs? As an example, if AC needs replacing or repaired. Okay, I'm going to talk about Condillo because that's where I live, and I'll also talk about Manizales because I live there. I lived in Pareda, but that was a long time ago. So I can speak firsthand to these areas. Water heaters, yes, absolutely. Everybody's got water heaters. 20 years ago, no, but yes, absolutely. They're on-demand water heaters. You do need to usually get them adjusted. Maybe I should talk about that in a video sometime. Save a lot of people a heartache, because there's a little secret to it. There's little limiters on it that most people aren't aware of. A repairman showed me one day. But anyway, AC, it's not very common because it's really unnecessary. If you're out, it's not doing you any good. If you're in your like here, on these days where it was hot and I was home, because I tend to be home in the afternoon when it's hot, that's not when you want to go out. I have a tower fan. I put it on low, it circulates the air. It's considerably cooler. Plus, I'm in the north part. I'm up on the 13th or 17th floor, depending on how you want to count it. And I've never felt the need for AC. Nowhere that I've lived in house, 3 different high rises, different areas of the city. Nowhere have I felt the need for AC. So no, if you wanted AC, you could always go buy one and then carry it to the next. But I'm telling you, it's just not necessary. As far as repairs, you work that out in the contract. If you want to specify, generally the landlord is going to be responsible, or the management company, if that's, unless you did something to it. That's generally the case. But if you're worried about that, make sure you have it specified in the contract. Because here, they abide by contracts religiously. But if it's not in the contract, even if they agreed to it verbally, they ignore it like nothing was ever agreed to. It's not that they're necessarily being jerks. It's culturally, it's how it works here. So if it matters, put it in the contract. But this place, I mean, this is as nicer as any place I would get in the U.S. for mid to upper middle class. George Orwell, Stanley Kubrick, really bad echo. Yeah, what happened was I had the sound. Those are 2 versions. I wanted you to see him, but the other one had the words, and they're both the same song. And so I had to play them side by side because I wanted you to see the words, because there's a couple places kind of hard to understand until you realize what he's saying. So I put it up there, and I turned the sound on for one and off for the other. But then when I hit it, for some reason, it was playing the sound on both. It wasn't my microphone, because I wasn't hearing. My speakers are off. I'm not wearing headphones. Anything that you hear, I can't hear. So that's why I appreciate when you point things out to me, because I don't really want to. You see people, they do their videos or podcasts with microphones. I don't want to do that. I just turn the sound off. Most everything that goes up I've heard, but every once in a while you get some weird thing like this. I don't know why it happened. It happened. No big deal. What is the best way to meet other expats in Armenia? Are they still meeting Tuesdays at 11 a.m.? What's the name of the place? Are there better ways to meet people? Great question. Go to Adventures in Grand Colombia Facebook page. Adventures in Grand Colombia. It's my Facebook page. There's actually a link below this this video, and just post on there, and somebody will get in touch with you. I don't know if this Tuesday he's going to be doing a coffee thing. I really don't know, but I will ask him to put on that page if he is. So look there, and you know, that page is for you guys. So look for things there. I'll post up things sometimes, but it's basically for you guys. Very powerful. Yeah, it kind of blew me away. I don't know exactly what it is. You hear the guy, you know, he's very humble because this is all new to him. I mean, that song was his life up until last week. Now he's cashing in on it. He's selling some merchandise, nothing big. And like I said, he turned down the recording contract because when they discussed it with him, they were telling him that they're going to put him out on tour and do this, that, and the other thing. And he realized that if he signed that contract, they would be in control of him. And he just had no interest in doing that. And so $8 million, here, just go along with us for the next 3 years, and you got this $8 million. That would be pretty tough for anybody to turn down, but he walked away from it. And he's doing these venues free, but he is selling some merchandise, and he's probably getting some money off of iTunes. Now, this company at the end, I forget what it said, but there was like an unrecognizable name. What happened was everything on his YouTube page are just short clips of songs, like sitting in his living room, put it on his cell phone, uploaded it. Like a minute of this song, minute of that song. Because he thinks his voice isn't good, he doesn't think he's very good on guitar, but it's his escape. And so he had that. Well, somebody who was like me somehow got hold of his songs because they're pretty obscure. How do you know that they're there in millions of people's YouTube pages? Well, they found it, and they lived near him and said, what if we come and set you up with a real microphone, a real camera, and put this up as a complete song? You know, would you be willing to do that? And he said, yeah, it sounded kind of interesting. Because he didn't have the stuff, and, you know, he's kind of poor, he couldn't afford it. So they came, and that's what they did. They set it up. You see the hunting blind in the back. Those 3 dogs are his dogs. That's his company. Like I say, the backstory is pretty fascinating. And that was his first ever recording with an actual microphone. And the guy put it up, and from the moment it went up, it exploded. And the interesting, they're calling this like an anthem for the working class. But already 2 days ago, you're seeing how it's being politicized, this is some right-wing propaganda. But what's fascinating is, I don't know if you know much about YouTube, but they have these reaction channels. And they do it with music. So it's somebody who's, let's say they're 20 years old, they're black, all they ever heard was rap, but they were told that Yesterday by the Beatles is like some awesome song. And so they'll play it, never having heard it before, and they'll react to it, and they'll give their opinions. And they grow their channel doing that. And it's pretty interesting. You'll see some things like, well, of course, you know, you never heard that song before, but there's other stuff out there. Well, coming up on my feed are all these reactions to this song. Hundreds of them. I did a search. There's hundreds of them. And what's amazing is there's so many lefty liberals that never would show up on my feed, but they're hearing that song because it went viral. They listen to it and they fall in love with that song. And I saw a reaction yesterday. I skipped through the song and I listened to what he had to say. And, you know, he's liberal and voted for Bernie Sanders and all this stuff. But he said, I saw on the news that they say that this is right-wing propaganda, and I don't get it because this is my life. You know, he's singing for me. And that's one of the amazing things of it, is this is not a political song It's more of a class song. You've got a political class that has created their own wealth, and they kind of look down on everybody else and kind of leave them in the dust. That's why you have popularity of guys like this Vivek, Trump, Bernie Sanders, even though he's part of that, you know, he's got his mansions, but you know, it's why those popularities are there. So anyway, I probably hammered that to death. Plus we ran their time. So much for my day off. I don't know, every day is a day off for me. Oh, there was one other thing. It's called, his page is called The Marine Rapper, all one word. It's on YouTube. So if you search The Marine Rapper, and he does this song, like rap music will take a song, and then they'll play part of it, and then they'll break into a kind of a re-envisioned version of it in rap form. I saw that, and it's like, damn, that was quite good. That was very good. But it was only about a minute. It's like, I want to hear more. I want to hear more of that. But so there's that. All right, we're gonna wrap it up here. Boom, Donald. Thank you very much, Donald. I don't know if that went up on the screen. I didn't see it, but we'll do it again. I greatly appreciate it. Look this guy up. Read his story. It's pretty fascinating. It's more than just a song. It's a statement. And I think that's it for today. So if I'm going to take off next Sunday, there's some things I want to do and can only do on Sunday. And this kind of is right in the middle of the day. And I didn't want to miss doing it. I really like doing these. So next Sunday, if I'm not going to do it, I will have up by Thursday whether it'll be here or not. In the meantime, I'll put up for the next video. I'll reserve the spot. You'll see it. You'll see it as available. But I might take it down before Sunday. Okay, that's it. Thank you for putting up with my little tirade. If you didn't like it or didn't appreciate it, let me know, and I'll try to avoid those kind of things in the future. It's just when I see what's going on here, when I see how things have changed, it just breaks my heart. All right, that's it. Ciao.
Oh.